You ship a model update on Friday, and by Monday, the support queue is full of complaints that quality dropped. The instinct is to dive straight into the model, but the strongest engineers triage it like an incident first. Scope it, time it, and find out what actually changed. That calm, structured response is exactly what a production interview is looking for. So let's start with your very first moves. Here's the scenario. You shipped a model update, and quality complaints are climbing. What are your very first triage steps, and what hypotheses are you holding? Take about 10 seconds to think.
I'd treat it as an incident, not a model debugging session. First, confirm it's real and scope it. Is the complaint volume actually above baseline? Which users or query types or slices are affected? And when exactly did it start? That timeline is gold. I line its start against what shipped. And my hypotheses deliberately include more than the model. Yes, the new model could be worse on some slice. But it could just as easily be a prompt or config change that rode along, a retrieval or index update, a data pipeline change, an infra issue causing timeouts and fallbacks, or a downstream parser choking on a new output format. So the first moves are, establish the blast radius, establish the timeline, and correlate with every change.
Lots could have shipped at once. How do you isolate whether it's actually the new model versus something else that went out alongside it? Take a moment before you answer.
The single most useful move is to replay the same inputs through the old and the new model and compare. Pull the actual complained about queries and run both versions on them. If the old model handles them fine and the new one doesn't, it really is the model. If both are bad, the cause is upstream. Data, retrieval, prompt, or config. And swapping the model won't save you. Alongside that, I'd list what else shipped in that window, because it's rarely just the model. And I'd bisect, disable or roll back one component at a time, or run the old model in shadow beside the new one. The goal is one clean, reproducible example traced end to end that names the culprit faster than staring at aggregates.
Say, you're still characterizing it. What signals and evidence do you gather to pin down the regression without drowning in raw logs? Take 10 seconds here.
I'd characterize it before reacting. Quantify the complaint rate against baseline, the magnitude, and crucially whether it's a broad drop or concentrated in one slice, one language, one query type, one customer segment. I'd pull concrete failing examples and judge them by hand, because quality dropped is vague until you see what went wrong. And I'd look at the guardrail signals around the model: latency, error and timeout rates, refusal rate, and shifts in output length or format. That last one matters. Often the model isn't dumber. It just changed its formatting in a way that breaks a downstream step or annoys users. Per slice, not aggregate. So a healthy average doesn't hide the segment that's actually on fire.
Now the call you have to make. When do you roll back versus keep investigating? And on what evidence do you decide? Take a moment to weigh it.
The decision is user harm times confidence times reversibility. If the regression is severe and broad, and it clearly lines up with the deploy, I roll back now. Stop the bleeding, investigate afterward. Rollback is cheap and reversible. User suffering is not. If it's minor, niche, or I'm genuinely unsure it's even the deploy, investigating first can be right. Because a rollback has its own churn, and may revert good changes too. Ideally, the threshold is set in advance. An error budget, or an SLO, that says past this line, we roll back automatically. My default bias, when harm is high and I'm uncertain, roll back and reship later. You should never be debugging in production while the damage keeps accruing.
Suppose you've rolled back and stopped the bleeding. How do you stop the same class of regression from happening again? Take 10 seconds to think it through.
I'd root cause why it got through in the first place. Almost always the answer is that the slice which broke was never in the pre-deploy eval. So first, add the failing examples to a regression suite, so this exact class can't return silently. Then, widen eval coverage to the slices and output formats real traffic actually hits. On the release side, move to a staged rollout, a canary on a small fraction of traffic, with automated guardrail metrics and an auto-rollback when they breach. And make manual rollback one click. And keep per-slice production monitoring with alerts, so the next regression is caught by a dashboard, not the support queue. The real gap was eval coverage and rollout safety.
So, the playbook. Treat a post-deploy regression as an incident, confirm it's real, scope the blast radius and the timeline, and correlate with everything that shipped, not just the model. Isolate by replaying the same inputs through old and new. If the harm is real and tied to the deploy, roll back first and investigate after. It's reversible. Then turn the failure into a regression test and a safer, staged rollout, so the same class can't surprise you twice. If this kind of prep helps, like this episode, share it with someone who's interviewing, and subscribe to Interview on Your Way. More and better questions are on the way.